My favorite attribute about Peril that makes her stand out against any other character is the fact that she doesn't feel any guilt or remorse. Most protagonists in Wings of Fire try to do anything to prevent harm from coming to other dragons, and feel immense guilt when they have to fight or kill someone else. Some of them, like Sunny and Blue, even feel sympathy towards those who attack them. In general, protagonists are supposed to be moral. They're supposed to be the bigger person and not kick puppies. Peril, on the other hand, has none of that restraint. She won't throw a pity party for herself and mope for half the book after killing someone. Her lack of morality is what makes her so incredibly interesting, similar to Darkstalker, but at least he seems to be more sure about it and he becomes a villain while Peril somehow becomes a hero. The only reason she feels bad about almost killing Winter is because Clay would be mad at her for setting back her progress, which begs the question. Why does Peril care so much about Clay? And why is she so immoral without him? Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I would have gotten here without you. Now, without further ado, let's get into this analysis. Peril, chronologically, is first seen as a very young dragonet. Her parents are Sora and Kestrel, and she is a twin. The twin ends up having no fire, but she is too much. Scarlet decides Peril is dangerous and tells Kestrel if she kills one of the children, she can take the other. She tries to kill the fireless dragon and take Peril, however she fails to take Peril and burns herself. Surprisingly, Scarlet does not kill Peril, who is left in the Sky Kingdom. Instead, she conscripts young Peril into the arena. She, of course, is not fighting dragons immediately. She is just a new hatchling. The first thing we see her do is burn all the Skywing eggs that could have hatched on the brightest night, which is around 2 years after she was born, I believe. Scarlet refers to her affectionately in this chapter, calling her her pet. Scarlet is shown to care a lot about Peril, as she is her champion and she manipulates Peril throughout her childhood from what we see of it. Scarlet convinces Peril that she has a medical condition and needs to literally eat rocks to help her, and if she doesn't eat them, she will die. She is even able to reinforce the fact that not taking the rocks will make Peril sick through poisoning her food. This is pretty obvious medical abuse, and it's a very direct form of control. I'm the one safe thing in this world keeping you alive. Without me, you'd be nothing and no one would love you. Scarlet's control over her is further reinforced by her isolation from the other Skywings. The only other dragon she can even talk to throughout her childhood is Osprey, and even then, it's just 2 dragons in her life who even talk to her. She doesn't have a true no-strings-attached relationship with anyone her age, which makes her social development rather stunted. We first find Peril in the Dragonet Prophecy after the DoD are captured and dragged to the arena. Peril is excited as she never gets to fight Mudwings and goes to talk to Clay. "Aren't you gonna eat?" asked the Skywing who was flapping around him. "I'm not hungry," Clay said, tucking his head into his wing. He could hear her wing beats as she circled him a few more times. "Is it the wrong thing?" she asked. "I don't know what Mudwings eat. We've never had one before. You know, because we're on the same side in the war. So that would be rude, taking them prisoner, I mean. But you're in the Talons of Peace, so the Mudwings won't care what we do with you. Come on, you have to eat something." "Why?" Clay asked, keeping his head buried. "Because I don't want you to die before I kill you," she said. Her tone so matter-of-fact it took Clay a few moments to register what she'd said. He poked his snout out and stared at her. "I've never fought a Mudwing," she said, deftly avoiding all the wires as she looped around him again, "since we're allies and all. So I'm really curious. I bet it's totally different from fighting Sea Wings and Ice Wings, but Her Majesty will make you fight some of the regular prisoners first, and if you die, then I don't get to fight you." "And that would be sad," Clay said. "Right, not blazing at all. The most blazing will be fighting a Nightwing, though. No one's ever seen anything like that. What if he can read my mind and knows what I'm gonna do before I do it?" She tilted her wings and swooped underneath Clay. "At least he's eating. Hey, I wonder if she'll make you fight each other. But then I only get to fight one of you. Do you think you could be a Nightwing? Probably not, huh?" Peril is very matter-of-fact about Clay living or dying because she doesn't really view him as a fleshed-out dragon at this point. She views him more as an object, something to burn. The only relationship she has to him at this point is because of Scarlet. If she kills him, then Scarlet likes it, and she'll be rewarded. She has no reason to think that Clay will give her any connection like Scarlet. Most dragons just run away and cower, and at this point, this is kind of what Clay is doing. She also doesn't know how to interact with dragons or how communication works in general. She doesn't understand that some dragons feel bad when others die, for example, and because she's never faced the realities of death herself or to a dragon she's connected to, it exists as a sort of abstract idea in her mind. Also, may I add that I'm so sad Blazing was dropped as Peril's catchphrase. It rings similar to the way Scarlet uses thrilling, and shows how she picked up mannerisms from her. After Peril kills a dragon, Clay continues to talk to her like any good friends should. In return, she helps him and covers his scratches in mud. Her connection with him furthers after he reveals that he tried to kill the other dragonets when they hatched, and she tells him that maybe they were both born monsters. When it comes time to Kestrel's trial, Peril is still under the impression that her mother tried to kill her and Scarlet saved her. She's also unaware that Kestrel is her mother. When her parentage and the circumstances of her captivity are revealed, Peril uses the ability of the Champion's Shield to prevent Scarlet from giving her the death sentence. She tells Kestrel that, "I may not want you to die, but I do not want to know you," which is honestly savage and a bit judgmental. I mean, you don't really know this dragon. While she is able to save her mother, she's not able to save her tutor, Osprey. When Osprey dies, a realization comes upon Peril. This feels bad. This is likely how other dragons feel. She probably shouldn't kill other dragons if this is how bad it hurts. She decides to help Clay escape, but at the last moment has second thoughts and betrays them to Scarlet. This isn't due to any loyalty to Scarlet, but rather her newfound loyalty to Clay, the last remaining dragon in the palace besides Scarlet who likes her. Peril explains her reasoning as she fights Clay in the arena. Peril slid towards Clay and he fled to the opposite wall. She hesitated and then put out on a burst of speed and chased after him. He waited until she was a heartbeat away, then lunged forward and body slammed her to the ground. The crowd roared with surprise and delight. She lay there gasping as he got up and ran to the other side of the arena again. She's not used to her opponents being able to hit back, he thought. Fiery heat blazed where his shoulder had touched her, but it faded quickly. He turned with his back to the wall and crouched, waiting for her to get up. Slowly, she rolled to her feet and paced towards him. This time, she stopped a short distance away. "I'm sorry," she said plaintively. "I know you're mad. I made a mistake. I thought you were trying to get away from me." "Well, I am now," Clay said. "I don't want to kill you," she said, clawing the sand in frustration. "But you have to," he finished for her. "I had a whole plan," she said, "a plan where I saved you after Kestrel, and you liked me best of all." "Peril, that's insane," he said. "I don't care whether you save me. I want you to save my friends. That's what's important to me." She snarled suddenly. "I'm your friend. You don't need them." She leaped over his head, and he shoved himself upward, throwing her over him and into the wall. He was in the arena. By the time she was able to... Okay, the words are obstructed here, so I'm just going to continue with Clay's line. "I'll stick with the friends who aren't trying to kill me, thanks," he called. "I'm not well." She stamped her talons again. "It's not fair. The others can have any other dragon. I only want you." Her wings snapped open and she leaped up. Then she dove all at him with her talons outstretched. Clay snatched a talonful of sand and threw it into her eye. She shrieked and blundered sideways into the air. He leaped, trying to grab her shoulders, and flung her to the ground. He rolled her onto her back and sat on her, looking down into her face. "I know I don't know much about anything," he said, "but I don't think it has to work like this." "It does," Peril said, trying to push him off. Her talons subbed ineffectively at him. "Dragons kill each other all the time, in war, in here, anywhere, for no reason at all. That's how we are, especially you and me. We're the same. We're dangerous." "That's not how I am," Clay said. "No matter what's happened when I hatched, I can't feel this killer inside me that's supposed to be there. Maybe that's what the prophecy's about. Maybe the dragonets are supposed to show everyone how to get along without a lot of killing." He noticed that the closest dragons in the audience were leaning in, listening intensely. He hadn't been speaking for the whole stadium to hear, but at least a few had. This is a clear sign of how unsocialized Peril is. The same way that she doesn't know how to fight properly other dragons, due to her incredible power, she can't talk to them because of the intimidation coming from that ability. She's projecting her own experiences onto him too. Because she has never had multiple friends she can focus on and has only had Osprey, she thinks he is a one-track mind too. Also because she was a born killer, she thinks he is one too. While this is disproven by the end of the book, I think it would be interesting if Clay was actually had been trying to kill all the dragonets and their eggs, as it would show how both of them were born under the same circumstances and both of them burned eggs, but both of them turned out differently. In the middle of this fight, Scarlet receives a scar and the dragonets flee. Kestrel is taken with the rest of the dragonets and Peril as they flee from the Sky Palace. Peril explains that she doesn't want to get to know her mother, but later, after things have settled down in the Sky Kingdom and she knows where she stands. Unfortunately, that day never occurs as Kestrel is killed in the epilogue of this book. The next time Peril is spotted is in the Brightest Night, where she rescues Scarlet from Burn's fortress as Scarlet keeps on discording her at all hours of the day until she got fed up. She stays with Scarlet in the desert for a while, however Scarlet disappears, presumably to go and find Charmeleon. Peril's next relevant appearance in the book is her namesake book, Escaping Peril. In the aftermath of the Jade Mountain explosions, the new Skywing Queen comes to visit the school. Upon learning of Peril's presence, she is very frightened as she witnessed Peril burning the Skywing DoD eggs. Peril and Turtle, who met each other while snooping, made their way to Possibility where the rest of the Jade Winglet is. Along the way they get acquainted, however a weird dragon is following them, who is later revealed to be Chameleon. They make their way to Possibility. Due to the city being cramped, Peril flies out to the desert where she encounters Winter. Peril goads him into a fight by alluding to her having injured the rest of the Jade Winglet. She doesn't realize this is a bad idea and could end up poorly until halfway through, and when she tries to stop the insanity, he ends up crashing into her and gets severely burned. Turtle shows up and heals him, and Peril flees the scene. Peril does feel bad about this, but not because she hurt another dragon, but because she thinks Clay might abandon her because she didn't follow his morals. This kind of feels like how people think Jesus would be sad at them for sinning but with dragons. I'm sorry if that's insensitive, I was not raised Christian, and I know little to nothing about y'all's traditions. Sorry. During this time, Chameleon finds her is able to convince her to go and meet Queen Scarlet despite her hesitancy. When she does, she finds her feelings changed about the dragon who once kept her captive. Peril closed her eyes, frowning. This conversation was distracting her from her goal, killing Scarlet. If that was still the right thing to do. Was it? Queen Scarlet didn't seem so terrifying and monstrous here, in this quiet valley talking about Peril's lovely craziness and her father. Remember all the terrible things she's done. That random mudwing she killed to get the head, sending Clay and his friends to fight in the arena, forcing my mother to kill my twin brother. But she kept me alive when everyone else in the tribe would have had me killed the moment I hatched. And she's right, she never wanted to change me. She likes my skills the way they are. I'm not even sure Clay feels that way. She remembered him wincing when he touched her, and the way he watched her wings carefully when she was near anything flammable. Did Scarlet really have to die? Oh Clay, why can't you be here to tell me what's right? Peril thinks at this moment that she's harmed the dragon after swearing against it and that others will see her as unredeemable. Scarlet is the one dragon who likes her the way she is, even if it was for selfish means. In times of strife, victims of abuse often return to the status quo of being with their abuser. In romantic abuse situations, it takes an average of 7 times for the victim to finally leave. So of course Peril will return to where she feels rejected by others, and she accepts the proposal of working for Scarlet, bruising her fire skills. However, she gets more to bit off than what she can chew, when she was secretly enchanted. Peril, Scarlet, and Chameleon all successfully take over the Sky Kingdom. All goes well until Peril realizes something is wrong after Scarlet tells Ruby that she'll train Clay to be a killer, and she realizes that she was being manipulative. She realized that Scarlet doesn't like her in spite of her skills, but because of it. Upon this thought, she also realizes that the necklace she was forced to wear was enchanted, and when she goes to take it off, Chameleon tries to prevent her, and the first thing she thinks about is Clay. Everything came rushing back. Clay, 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 Clay. Peril's heart sang. How could she have forgotten about him? How could any spell do that? She looked around at her circle of watching skywings, orange and red heads, peering over the balconies, and wing beats, ringing in more. Ruby and Cliff trapped under Scarlet's claws, so guards watching her warily. Is this why I become without him? I go back to being a monster? She held out her talons. Wisps of smoke were starting to rise from them again. The fire skills aren't what made me dangerous. Even without them, I was as bad as ever, because I was willing to follow her. Peril lowered her claws and advanced on Scarlet. You stay away from me, Scarlet hissed. Get back. So why is Peril so obsessed with Clay? All in all, Peril uses Clay as a moral crutch for herself. Clay is respected by other dragons for being a big wings to the DoD and ending the war, so she is able to figure out what's considered right and wrong in dragon terms using his actions as a base. She may also be obsessed with him because he was the first dragon to ever show no strings attached love, be close to her, and also hold her accountable for her actions. She was raised by someone who taught her to be a monster, and all Skywings ignored her. Of course she's gonna fall for the only dragon who gives her the time of day. I want to clarify that even though I think their dynamic is interesting, I'm mixed on whether or not I'd support as a ship. I've stated my primary reason for not liking Winter Watchers because Moon Watchers is not a Winter moral support or helping him become a better dragon, and to not see how that relationship is close to Peril and support it would be double standards. What does Clay get from relationship with Peril? I haven't seen a lot of interest in him with Peril, to be honest. He seems more like a teacher or mentor to him, in my opinion. While Clay is not an active therapist for Peril, it still wouldn't be the best ship to sail. Peril's entire existence revolves around Clay too, and she has no independence or morals of her own. I'd rather have her indiscriminately murdered than have her personality be half Clay, I love you! It's a tiny bit of a misogynistic stereotype for a woman to have their entire personality be around the man, in my opinion, too. And the only good thoughts she is capable of is because of him. But Peril is still a very good character, and their book was scored an A in my tier list I did a while ago. I'm in no way hating on it. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support means a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. That's all. Peace out.